Yeah.
You're welcome. Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for being here. I just wanted to acknowledge that we're all going through things, and given the acceleration and everything else of the quickening that's happening right now, we are moving through a rapid landscapes change, and we have to learn how to have agility to be able to move from one thing to another. And it's all at times it's to feel like a fusillade or a bombardment of emotional and mental and psychological adjustment. I was just talking to somebody earlier. We were talking about financial stuff, and she was saying how quickly things are changing for her and how she has to reinvent herself continually to keep herself employable, and how people are struggling with that part of the equation. I went to Rite Aid today, and there's some items that were not there, and there's a big sign on all the cashier that says, "Pardon a lack of supply. It's due to the global supply chain issue." And everything that I used to buy, the item I was buying used to be 11 something, it's now $15. The other item that you used to buy that was $8, it's now $11.95. Everything is going up. I'm not telling you anything new, you're witnessing it. Okay? And as such, we are. There's a lot of insecurity. There's a lot of worry. There's a lot of concern, and it makes you give you pause. Should I spend this money on this? Should I spend this money on that? We begin to take stock as to what's important, what's not important. Where should I spend my money? Because we're getting concerned that there may not be no fund available. And it could be a point where you have the fund and you can't find the supply. So having acknowledged this, last week we talked about when you have emotional issues that you're dealing with, what's the best way to put this? The people that you have in your life right now, the situation that you have in your life right now, that are the most egregious, that are causing you to be angry, if not angry, uncomfortable, agitated, irritated. All of these people who are, or situation or events that are causing these things to happen to you are connected directly to an internal program that exists in you that you need to deal with. Okay? And it means that the event on the external that's causing you agitation, that's causing you irritation, is a mirror of an internal subconscious false belief that you need to unroot in you. And the moment you're able to do this, find the lesson, the karmic lesson, and the part that you owned, then the moment you're able to unravel this, the moment the outside event will begin to diminish, and it will stop to irritate you. It will at times disappear and vanish into the thin air. It will resolve itself in the most miraculous and impossible ways. It will find a way to dissolve and to become something else. And I'm trying to help you understand that a lot of time, particularly when this relates directly to people and places, often it's karma. For us to go from the 3D reality into a 5D consciousness and reality, we have to go to multiple level of ego death. We have to surrender and let go of multiple things. We were just talking about financial, job-related thing, reinventing self and all that. All of that is our supply chain issue. It's coming from a consciousness of lack. It's not coming from a consciousness where everything that we need exists in the universe. It exists right here on earth for us to be abundant, to be flowing, and to have access to everything that we need. If we find, for whatever reason, either individually or collectively, that this is not the case, there is something inside of us that is anchored in the lack consciousness that's blocking us from receiving the flow and the perpetually renewing energy that the universe is trying to bring us. So the key is to first understand what's happening outside. The irritation, maybe the concern is, again, as I said, food prices. I mean, I was buying, supply thing, like, toothpicks and things of that nature that were, completely self-care kind of item at the pharmacy. And again, I noticed the price difference from the last time I bought, which was about a month ago, to now. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, this was $11.95. It's now $14.95. So the price just jumped in 1 month. And the other item was let's say $8.85. It's now $11.85. But $2 in both instances added to the value of what I was buying. And this got me a little bit nervous. Now, the fact that I'm clenching and I'm getting nervous connects to my thinking that I don't have enough money. And therefore, I'm giving value to the belief system internally in my subconscious mind that I have limited resources. When in fact, we should think of ourselves as being abundant and being in flow and knowing that we are rich and we are abundant, and I should not have this clenching sensation inside of me thinking to myself, oh my God, where is this going? So the outside, meaning that supply, and some of the other, and one of the items that I wanted, this a lip gloss, is not there. The shelf, the entire shelf is empty. And as I said, there was a sign at the cashier saying they have a global supply chain issue. They just don't, if they don't have it, they don't have it. You just have to wait until the item arrives. Okay, I'll put some Vaseline on my lips. I'm okay with that. Okay, but again, instead of clenching and being in fear, I should realize that the world is changing, and I have to connect to abundance and flow in a different way. And I have to stop worrying that I'm not going to have. And in other words, the external fear that is created by the small incident that happened 2.5 or 3 hours ago should not block me from accepting, because if I accept that small incident as my new truth, it will block flow and I will continue to experience the same lack. If on the other hand, I realize that I'm abundant, I'm rich, I have an endless checkbook with unlimited zeros behind it from the universe, and I can write any check that I want, and I can get anything that I want, and nothing will stop me. Then flow will come toward me. I have to change the kind of inner conversation that I'm having at these little moments. That's what I mean about putting your faith and your trust in something else, instead of letting the outside causing you to clench and to, so the survival consciousness, 3D consciousness I have, which is to count the beans and make sure that I have enough beans to last me to the hard time, to the famine, and make sure I have to shift that awareness. And I have to flow into something else where abundance and flow exists for me everywhere, and I have to allow the universe to take me into that place. And that's the way you process these little, and again, every time you shift your awareness like this, step by step, every time, and it's not going to stop. It's going to be continued because the prices will continue to go up. Maybe in a few months, it's more expensive. I have to keep reminding myself every time that happens, instead of clenching and being afraid, I have to be in flow and realize, because I'm on budget like everyone else, I have to realize, no, I am not in a budget. I have an unlimited checkbook from the universe. And whatever I need, I can write a check and the check is good. The universe will give it to me. I have to accept this as my new reality. And it's not about money, because money is a symbol for energy and for flow, for exchange. It's not about money. It never was. It's about connecting to desire to receive that matches desire to give. It's about flow and exchange. Because if you can have all the money in the world, I've told the story before. I grew up around people when I went to Columbia in graduate school. I was around people that were extremely wealthy. And I can tell you in one instance, and I've told the story before, this one young man that for the first year in the program, I was green. I didn't know anything about people's social status, who they were, what they were. He was just like us, wearing jeans and t-shirt in the studio all the time, working day and night in the architecture school, doing all the same assignment. We were next to each other, the same studio. And I didn't know who he was. But when we went out to eat, he would always take the tea back, put it in an aluminum foil, bring it back. And I just didn't understand that mentality. And I thought he didn't have money. I felt sorry for him. And when I got my little stipend, because I was in a work study program, I tried to buy him lunch. I offered to buy him a cheeseburger deluxe. And I didn't realize until the next year, when he threw a party at his house, that he lived in an 18-room private elevator penthouse. Although he was extremely wealthy, he lived in poverty consciousness. And I was more wealthy than he was in terms of consciousness. Because in my mind, it was like, because this is the way I grew up, no matter what you're eating, if someone is not eating, you split your food, you give them a piece. No matter how small, I grew up middle class, no matter, you don't eat alone. Where I grew up in the Caribbean, you share your food with people. So that's what I was doing. This is the way I was raised. And when I went to his apartment, when I'm in shock. I have never seen luxury like this in my entire life. Wraparound terrace that went all the way, it's a Park Avenue apartment, wraparound terrace. I've never seen anything like this, ever. So you could have money and still be in survival consciousness and be counting beans and counting pennies and all, and not exist in trust and in certainty. And if you're that counting beans like this, your health is going to suffer. Because to have all the money in the world and to be poor of health and not being able to sleep at night and to be agitated and to be in panic and to be worrying about it's not flow. You know that old saying that jump and the net will appear? That's flow. That's certainty. This is the state that the 5D exists in. And whatever obstacles that are blocking us from accepting that reality between now and the transit, we will be presented with multiple opportunities to let go of these shackles, to let go of these anvil and remove them around our neck one by one, and just remove them one by one. Get this albatross around us out one by one, incident by incident by incident. We will remove them so that we can move more and more into accepting that there is nothing for me to worry about. God's got me, the universe got me, and I am fine. And I'm more than fine. I'm abundant. I'm rich, and I exist in perpetual renewal and flow. So that's the kind of conversation that this little incident kind of triggered for me. Because again, as I said, 3 items. same item I bought a month ago, because I was just resupplying because I'm dwindling down, things are dropping down. So it's just regular self-care pharmacy item that you need on a daily basis, floss, all the stuff that you need to maintain, to take care of yourself. And realizing the price hike, I'm like, wow. And then certain shelves were completely empty, nothing. And you're like, wow, And again, I'm not going to let that worry me. I have to move on and knowing that whatever is being created is artificial. And the funny thing, I saw Katie Porter, who's a Democrat, talking about the supply, the price gouging that corporations are doing. That it's not, what's happening in America right now is not being caused by actually things getting more expensive because we don't have enough. It's the exact reverse, because corporate profit is at a sky-high level. Exxon just posted, I forgot how many $1 billion in profit, an astronomical number, like $190 billion in profit in this quarter just passed. Okay? And it's because they're raising the gas prices artificially. Corporate profit, for every dollar we spend 53 cents from it goes to corporate profit. Meaning that the same item a year ago, we would have bought it for literally 53% less. And it's because corporate greed is fueling this. But the lesson from a spiritual standpoint, although we can change, we can do things politically, vote and do whatever it is that we need to do to change that. I'm going to let you and your conscience and your ethics and your moral do that on your own. I'm not telling you what you should be doing. But what I can say to you is that from a spiritual standpoint, what you should be aware of is that the fear that these kind of things are generating in you, that's what you need to let go of and surrender. Because my experience, every time I exist in that perpetual flow and I allow my consciousness to exist in this, it's only goodness that comes toward me from the most unexpected ways. The moment I begin to worry about the money, I begin to worry about where am I going to get this? Why is this not coming? I get depressed. I'm lethargic. I can't, everything that I do seems not to work. The normal thing that I used to do to be able to generate revenue or whatever, they seem not to work. So the moment the consciousness is shifted, it's like, it feels like exhaling, and then everything happens automatically. Clients out of nowhere just books and things. It's a completely different button. But if I push that easy button and I remain in it, it creates the flow, and whatever revenue that I need comes. And it comes and it flows naturally. Whereas if I do it the other way, because I'm concerned and I'm so worried, and I'm so all of a sudden, I get caught in a trap. I'm learning a major lesson personally, because I am a person that gives compulsively, and I'm working on this, I'm better at it. I have a problem with receiving. I'm much better at it now, and it's still a work in progress. Still a work in progress. And and again, it's not money, it's exchange of energy. What gives must also learn how to receive. And what receive must learn also how to give. This is the way the universe operates. At the tail end of the gift, there will be a reciprocal desire to give back to you, and you're going to have now to receive. And if you're receiving, at the tail end of the you receiving, you will have a desire inside of you to give something back, even if there's something back that you're giving is just genuine gratitude. You have to give something back. Otherwise, the flow and the infinity loop is broken. It's important for us to understand this, because if you exist in that kind of space, then everything in the universe will be easy for you. There will be no struggle. There will be no pain. There will be no suffering. That's the energy of 5D. It's a perfect, harmonious blending of giving and receiving. So that's a big lesson that I'm adjusting my consciousness to doing. Because I came from the whole old school of Catholic and the guilt that the church has done on us. We must crucify ourselves and sacrifice ourselves for the world, for other people, for the universe. And therefore, you have to take one for the team, take two for the team, take three, take five, take 10. Just give and give and give. And this is a real old program that I'm chiseling at and I'm dismantling. At the roots, I'm dismantling this. So if you recognize yourself in this, if somehow this relates to you, there are adjustments for you to make. Any questions, any comments about this?
Pierre, I think that it's important to note that it's not a simple breathing exercise to release to source, that whatever the issue is that at your core that is preventing abundant flow and receiving, that's not enough. You really have to dig to find out what the source of that issue is. So it's not an overnight kind of process, right? So as you said, you've been working on it for a while, and it's a deep issue, probably even past life. Right? But chipping away is good too. So
yes,
yeah.
Janice, to kind of elaborate on what you're saying, you're so right, and it's a great segue for the next piece. The part of me that I'm blocking is so deeply rooted that the moment I begin, and this is the way you remove karma, because it's past lives. I had an offer that somebody offered me quite a bit of money, but I didn't want it in that way. In my mind, I could work, I could do other things, I could do, for that money to come to me. I didn't want to be, to have to owe anybody for anything. I wanted to gain it on my own. And I said no. But here is the thing. What I didn't realize is that and I said no with such, I decreed no. I didn't just say no. I decreed no. Like I took my staff as Gandalf, my Aunt Corona, and I said no. And the moment I said this, it reverberated into the entire universe. And what happened? Everything that was coming to me from the universe got blocked. I didn't say no just to that thing. I blocked flow completely coming from the universe. And ever since then, for over a year now, I've been struggling. Now it turns out that this person that I said no to, I have past life karma with this person. And that person was trying to balance some imbalance from the past. And again, you're right, that awareness didn't come all at once. It's months and months of digging, of query, of asking question. What am I not seeing? There's something about this that I don't understand. I'm blinded by something. What am I not feeling? What am I not seeing? What's the real root cause of all of this? What's the real reason? And I ask for, again, prayer helps a lot. I pray a lot and asking for help. And as I ask for help and I ask for the people to help me pray and I get the help and I'm the prayer, all of a sudden I begin to have inkling as to what I did. And I remember the moment and I remember the feeling and the emotion. It was so strong. It was a decree. Every point in the universe heard it. And therefore I blocked myself from receiving everything. And so I have to now undo this. That's not what I intended. It's a mistake. It's a stupid mistake. It's a rookie mistake. And I ended up having to do a lot of work, and I'm doing a lot of dream work to unravel this. And in the dream work that I'm doing, I had a dream. Now, in the dream, there was a prison in a frozen tundra, either in Antarctica or Siberia, completely frozen. And there was a young woman, millennial, around 30-some years old, that the prison was, you couldn't escape it, and somehow she managed to get out. I don't know how she got out, but the door opened, she walked out. And there was no road, nothing, everything was ice, white ice, frozen. And in the dream, I'm a ghost, but I'm walking with her. Okay? I'm like a filmmaker. And, there are three ways you can experience the dream, either as a ghost, or you could be someone else, or you could be yourself, experience it as yourself. And in the dream, I'm just like an invisible ghost. And I'm walking with her, and she walks, and finally she finds a hut somewhere, and she goes into the hut, and she doesn't go in the front room because it was still cold, the door was still open, she was frozen, and she went in the back room, and she cuddled herself there and went to bed. I had 5 dreams that night. In 4 of the dream, the same woman and the same character that was in that frozen prison showed up in all the other dreams. And they were all interrelated. And it's that part of me that I decreed no, that got frozen in that place and finally got out of prison. You're right, Janice. It's work. I'm telling you because I'm being so open and so candid with my own experience. It's work. It's hard work. And you have to be so vulnerable and so honest with yourself to realize that it's not the world and everyone else on the planet doing to you. Where is my 50%? What have I done? What part of me, what did I miss that's causing me to experience this right now? And if you're honest and sincere enough with that self-inquiry, that self-examination, that, the truth will show up eventually. And you will be able to know what you're supposed to do to fix it. So there is a deep, major shift and internal readjustment that's happening internally for me because of this. Because the moment I said no, as I said, I blocked everything. And I know the feeling that I put into it, it was just like every molecule and atom in my being was saying no, and it reverberated through the entire universe. And at that moment, the part of me that was allowing whatever little bit that I was allowing from the universe, for the universe to give to me, I blocked all of it. I blocked the entire channel. It's like a giant valve in an aqueduct. I just closed the whole valve. I'm allowing now slowly, I'm reopening the valve and allowing flow to come back again.
Yeah, a quick
Yeah.
question.
Yes.
So, if I understand this correctly, that was so far-reaching because the emotion was so intense, or was the intention so big?
It's both.
It was both.
It was both. It
So
was
it wasn't just the intensity, but there was a specific intention also.
yes. Yeah, it was both. It was a knee-jerk reaction. It didn't come from a place of it was not even, there was no, it was not calculated. It was a knee-jerk reaction.
Mm. Even though you didn't intend it to be so.
No, I was saying no to that one little part. But what happened is that when you say something with such power,
Right.
it blocks everything else.
So that's an interesting take, that the intensity, you know, we it can be so far-reaching.
Yeah, and what gives it intensity is emotion.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's I'm being so vulnerable with you and telling you this because I want you to learn.
Yeah, it's a warning, because, you know, sometimes we let ourselves be very intense and we don't realize what that creates.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're saying it, if a curse word comes in, I don't want that. And you start, when you're releasing like this, it's a decree.
Right.
The old people used to say all the time, be careful what you say out loud. You don't know who's listening. Because the universe is listening to you. And when you say it out loud and you say it that loud and you say it with that kind of meaning, with that kind of power, with anger and rage, and you say it, that channel is closed.
Mm. That's thank you for sharing. That's a very good warning, because, you know, sometimes we might feel it's easy to feel overwhelmed nowadays.
Yes.
You know, sometimes sometimes energies are so intense, but you still need to be careful, and you still need to temper it.
And here's the lesson for me. I'm talking exactly about that, Ursula. Here's the lesson for me. Now, when I feel something, when I feel a certain way about what someone says to me, and I have strong emotions, and I remember when I did the monthly summit, I was talking about this. I don't send an email out cursing somebody out. I don't call people out. I don't yell. I don't call them on the phone. I don't when I'm feeling that enrage. Because I will decree it, and I will not be able to take it back.
Right.
When I'm in that kind of state where I can feel the emotion or overwhelming me with particularly with negative emotion, I shut down the door. I don't pick up the phone, although there's a part of me in my head, I'm having the conversation with the person. I want to tell them this and I want to tell them that, and blah, 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 you know, and I'm being very, in my mind, the fantasy is that I'm being very emotive.
Yeah.
But I don't act on it.
Yeah.
Because it's not ascended. And I know at that moment that I'm being so agitated, I'm being pushed by the archon.
Yes. Yes, and nowadays it can be very intense. Suddenly, you know, you're okay for a month or 2 or 3 or 4, and suddenly there's an opening and the hell breaks loose.
Yes, and I know I'm being pushed, and the intensity of the emotion that I'm feeling is out of the ordinary for me.
Yeah,
the moment I feel this way, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not picking up phone calls. I'm not having conversation. If the person were to call me, there's somebody that I'm supposed to have a conversation with. Okay, this is somebody that said something to me that was very hurtful. This happened since May. I still, until now, I'm not calling this person to have a conversation. For the simple reason, and I'm not saying this, it's not because I'm afraid of having the conversation. I'm trying to protect this person from my wrath because I'm not neutral yet.
Yeah. Yeah, you can create something that you might regret. Yeah.
And not only regret, but I can hurt her because my energy is too big.
Right. I also found
when you're a giant, you have to move gently.
Yeah.
My energy is way too big. If I go and have this conversation and I say these things and what she did to me, she's completely in the wrong. And if it's now a former student, if I go and have that conversation, she's asked me multiple times, I have not responded to anything. Email, text, nothing, I've not responded. But I'm not doing this because I'm a coward. I will have the conversation, but I have to emotionally be neutral. I'm not neutral yet. I'm trying to protect her from my wrath and my power.
You know, I also found, and I know it's being inflated, like you said, by archons. I also found I can be just as intense with myself.
Absolutely.
I actually found I do better with other people nowadays, but I'm being too harsh on myself.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing. It's the same kind of lesson.
I rather internally process something internally and be harsh with myself because I know what my power can do to people. And I don't, I made a promise to myself at this lifetime, harm no one.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna start by letting my emotion be released and accidentally cause somebody to be hurt.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a good reminder because I notice like, and maybe it's the planets and then the full moon and everything together, because it's the red full moon, which is very intense. But I found lately it's been very intense.
And it's not just the red moon, full moon that's coming on the 8th, it's also a solar eclipse. I mean, a lunar eclipse.
Yes.
The lunar eclipse, and I've said this before, not all of you were here, but do not let the moonlight from the lunar eclipse fall upon you because it accelerates your karma twice as much. Things are moving fast enough as it is, and we barely can keep up with it. Unless you want to be purged and be sick purging your karma, do not let the light fall upon you. For those of you who are late, okay? Be very aware of this. If you're walking because you're coming from work and the light is there, wear a hoodie. Don't let the light hit you. This is the Vedic tradition.
Pierre, I looked it up.
Yeah.
And it says that on November 8th in the US, it will actually begin at 5:17 a.m. Eastern time. So
Okay.
5 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And it will last 85 minutes. It will end at 6:42 in the morning.
Perfect.
So I guess stay covered in the morning, and I guess I mean in the evening might be good to cover yourself too, because there might be some leftover light or something.
I'm just not going in the moonlight that day. It's as simple as that. I'm not I don't have a desire to see the moon. There are people, did you see the last eclipse? A lot of people, did you see how beautiful the full moon was, how close it was to the earth? And it was an eclipse. And I'm like, oh, you fool. You don't know what you just did. You just accelerated your karma. And for the rest of the year, everything is going to come. It's a bombardment that's going to come at you.
Right. Like you said, especially now when everything's quicker anyway.
It's quickening anyway. You want it to go faster? It's like you already Oh, I'm sorry to be so.
Well,
You already have loose bowel, and now you're gonna take a purge. It's the last thing you want to do. No, you're gonna be sick.
well, easy button is definitely the way. So
Yes,
thank you for the reminder.
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And thank you for sharing, because I've been working on something like for a long time now, and I was just getting exhausted. So it helps to know that sometimes it's what it takes.
Yeah. It's over a year for me. I'm struggling with this. Okay, it's over a year.
Yeah.
And I'm it's sometime again. It was so deep. It was buried so deep that I didn't know. That simple thing that happened, which was for me expressing. I thought it was boundary. It was my choice, and I rationalized it out, all kinds of things. But what it really was is shutting down the valve where I receive everything from the universe. I shut everything down.
So I guess you should have been a little more thoughtful about it.
Yeah, but I was emotional. It was a knee-jerk reaction.
Gotcha.
I didn't, when you're letting a decree, again, it was not coming from an ascended place. That's why, and I've done this a lot in the past, when somebody says something to me, even when they attack me, I don't respond right away.
Right.
I get an email about somebody complaining about something, attacking me, saying something about me. I don't respond right away. I take 2 days, 3 days to process, and I respond from an ascended place, because I don't want to create more negative karma that's going to hold me back in 3D.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. Thank you so much.
I don't go in and just automatically fly out with a comment, and I don't say anything. I remain silent. I just watch, I witness, and after that, after a day or two, I respond. It's not because I'm not capable. There's a part of me that's street smart, that can cut, and clap back with the best. But it's not coming from an ascended place. So to be wise is sometimes to remain silent and to witness for a while, and then you respond when you're ready, when you're prepared. I've watched, and some of you witnessed this years ago, when these 3 women were trying to unravel what I was trying to create with the Guyville. It took me 3 years to finally have a conversation with them and confront them. And when I confronted them, it's not because I was afraid of them, but I wanted everything to come from an ascended place. And all I said to them is that this is what you've done. When you've done this, this is what it did to me. And I don't never accuse anybody. I'm just saying this is what I feel because of what action you took. And then I'm like, from this point forward, I said to all 3 of them, I don't trust you. I'm not telling you what you should be doing or not doing. Some of them apologized, others did not. I said, I don't trust you. And the way I am, I'm a Capricorn. Once you lose my trust, I will there's nothing you can do where I can get it back. I may pretend that I'm getting it back, but I will never completely trust you. Because I'm so deeply loyal, I give everything blindly. And when it's not reciprocated and you give me reason for doubt, when that doubt is sown, in this lifetime, I can't get him back. And what happened? Within the next week, all 3 of them walked out. I didn't kick anybody out. I didn't yell. I didn't have conversation. I didn't curse. I did nothing of that sort. I just stated facts. This is what happened. When this happened, it made me feel this way. This is what you did. I just stated facts. And moreover, the class was during a class. The class was being recorded. I said, so that because they were meeting separately, they were having private meetings, they were going in restaurant and diner plotting, and all of it came back to me. And I said, everything is being recorded. I said, so that you don't say that I said, Everything's being recorded. And I'm going to send you a copy of the recording for your own record of what I said and what I meant to say. Because I want the gossip to finish, to end. And then they realized that the cloak and dagger game they were playing, the curtain was pulled back. And I told them point blank, I will never be able to trust you again. So they had to walk out. And it was not coming from a place of rage or malice or anger. It came from a place of, like, you know, facts. Now, when you are karma with someone, that's the kind of thing that you are supposed to do. And again, as I said, I'm at a point now where my anger with this one student is beginning to subside. And again, I was protecting her, not because as I said, I'm a coward and I don't want to have the conversation, but because, again, I don't want my anger to create a decree that will shake and rattle her life. So I am now at a different place. I'm getting better and better, and I could see in my head that I'm almost at a point where I can have a conversation, because she deserved to know. And it was not intentional what she did. I don't think she had the consciousness. Well, I don't know if it was intentional or not. There's a part of me that still think that she was infected with something. Anyway, be that as it may, she deserved to have a conversation. And I will have the conversation once everything is neutral to me, and I'm almost there. So Janice, to your point about karma and about the time that it takes and all that, you're totally right. You're totally right. Sometimes it takes months, sometimes it takes years, and sometimes it takes lifetimes. And it's a complex thing.
I think that's a very important thing to know, so one doesn't get discouraged not seeing a resolution in a brief period of time. And I'm not saying it, or maybe you're not saying either, that it has to take a long time, but it may be an easier to resolve issue than others. But patience and being kind to yourself during that period, I think, is the important takeaway anyway.
Yes, and also be aware that if it's related to somebody, even though you may be having private conversation in your head about, you standing for your boundary and yelling and screaming and etc., whatever, particularly when you're, in my case, when my energy is so big, that if I act in those manner, I'm going to create another decree. And because of this, I rather the fantasy is still going in my head, but I pray to God and I say, take this burden away from me, because I need to become neutral. I need to calm down for me because I'm not rational now. I am being completely emotional, and my emotions are bouncing like a ping pong. And I can't have a conversation at this moment. So help me calm down. And once I'm completely calmed down, then I can have the conversation. And I can say, sometimes there is resolution. Sometimes the stuff is not so egregious. You can say to the person, when this happened, that happened, it made me feel this way, blah, blah, blah. And then the conflict resolution 101, when you're dealing with somebody that's in your life, particularly somebody that you love, that you have karma with, is that for me, there are certain things that there's no return from. There's certain behavior, but there are other behavior where you just present. Sometimes the person is not aware that their action took you somewhere or made you feel a certain way, because they're not mind readers. So It helps to have the conversation when you're calm and you say, when this or that happened, this is what it made me feel. When you responded this way, when you said this, I felt X, Y, Z. And the person may come back, apologize. Oh, that's not what I meant. Oh, I'm sorry that you took it this way. And don't go in a conversation like this with somebody where you're trying to resolve some karmic issue by saying, you did this to me. When you did, and pointing your finger. If you do this, you're going to have a fight and it's not going to end well. Resolution, conflict resolution 101. When I'm having this conversation with the student, the first thing you say to them, you pay them a compliment. You tell them, you give them something that's added value to them and to you. That their relationship and everything else was of value to you. And then you come to the point of the very specific incident. This is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. In other words, you don't demonize them completely. You realize that in the scope of your relationship, there is a part that was good. And I want to acknowledge the good, but I want to also acknowledge that when this, that, or that occur, this is what it made me feel like. And it's not equitable to me. And I want to bring that out because this is how I'm feeling. And everybody has the right to feel the way they feel. And then you remain silent, not in your mind having already a map as to how you want the conversation to go because they're evil or they're guilty. When you're trying to really do conflict resolution, you don't have a resolution in your head already. You simply state what you feel. And then you wait and you remain silent and let the person respond back. And once they respond, then you can organically respond back and allow them to respond and until it resolves itself into something. And it could be the resolution is we're going to part ways. Like me and these other three women, it's like we're parting ways because the relationship is not too toxic. And therefore, we're going to separate. And amicably, it's okay. Because this is what happened in life. Any questions, any comments? Now, there's a lot. We talked in some details last week, and even today about how to resolve some of these karmic connection. And again, it's not just personal events like I did, where you say something that affects you and your own subconscious mind and what's happening. Sometimes it, as I stated in case number 2, it's something that connects you to someone else. Be mindful of where you are with the person and the kind of relationship that you're having. If it's somebody that's in your family, it's blood or it's close friends, there are certain words and certain things that you cannot say. You may think of them. This is why you don't have emotional conversation, because the moment you say it, you cannot take it back. The person will never forgive you. There are certain things that may be true, but when you say them in rage, when you say them and particularly when you're trying to attack someone and you say them with that kind of tone of attack, the person will never forgive you. So you have to study, and this is why it takes me a while to have conversation with people, because I do say a lot of Ho'oponopono, and I in my head I ask God to speak through me, so that the resolution can be the best for everybody. Because I don't want to demonize anybody. I'm not interested. I want everybody to evolve and grow. But I accept the fact that sometimes we are in different buses. We cannot continue. The person may have been in the same bus with you, but at some point they get off. They go to a stop, they get off, and they walk away. And it's okay. You know, Dr. Stone was talking about in some of his writing, particularly because he was a marriage counselor. He talks a lot about a phenomenon he calls the different elevator effect, like in a marriage where the spouse are in different elevators. One is in the 12th floor, the other one is in the 7th floor, and they're not seeing eye to eye, and the marriage, they cannot communicate correctly. This happens with friends, that's happened with everybody. And through conversation and communication, you can bring them back to your floor sometime. Other times, it cannot be repaired. And you have to realize that you have to let that relationship go and stop trying to convince them. Because one of the toxic things in relationships is that if you're on level, you're in floor 12 and then in floor 7, the one in floor 12 is constantly screaming at the one in floor 7 and accusing them of not being enough or not doing enough and trying to bring them up to their level. Sometimes the person is comfortable in level 7, floor 7, and sometimes level 7 is all that they can give in this lifetime. And you doing this to them will cause them to resent you and hate you. So you have to learn, there's a whole social intelligence that you have to learn on how to talk to people. Social intelligence, knowing what to say and when to say it by sensing where someone else is. Instead of coming out and just saying anything that comes to mind and cut them to pieces because you think you're right. Tactically, you might be correct from an intelligence point of view. But that conversation could cut somebody and cause you now, who said it, to have negative karma. You may be right about them not being at the 12th floor. But because you're saying it with such an attack and such a with such strength, you're causing them to feel disempowered and also what's the word? They begin to have less self-worth because of it, because they are comparing themselves to you. No one should compare themselves to their spouse or to anyone else. They should be comparing themselves to themselves. They should be the best version of themselves that they can be. That's the reason why I don't have this conversation when I'm angry, because I'm gonna do the comparison. And I have to step back and say, no, I can't have this conversation right now. Because you just simply have to be the best that you can be, wherever you are. Because no two persons are the same. We're a unique manifestation of the divine. And therefore, how I express myself, how I present things, how I communicate, it's unique to me. I can improve, and someone can give me a hint. And the way you really change people, if you want to bring your spouse to level 12 and they're at 7, the way they learn, you could learn to communicate better, of course, but the other way to do it is by being the best that you can be. Don't nag them anymore, just mention it a couple of times, and then be the best that you can be at level 12. Demonstrate the light that you know. This is the way people learn. You show it to them. And when you demonstrate it, they will get it. They may not grow at your speed. They may not evolve as fast as you want them to evolve. But if you pay careful attention, and I'm telling you, for all of you that listens to me, all my students, there are times, particularly in private session, when you're telling me about certain things that you're doing. I remember having a conversation with a student recently, and she said something to me. I was literally in my head doing backflip because I was so happy that she was able to master this. Because it took a minute, but when she got it, she got it. And I told her that day, I said, I'm so proud of you. This is phenomenal. I've been teaching this, and in my head, I'm thinking I'm preaching to the wind, and my spit is falling back on my face. The wind is blowing back at me, and I to see that you're mirroring it, and you're doing it. And she said, when I was doing it, I was thinking of you. I said, what would Pierre do in a situation like this? And she did it. I'm like, yay! I'm doing, 8 backflip in my head. I'm like, I'm so happy right now. So people, what I'm saying is that for me, I saw a growth spur. It's like you're planting a plant and you're watching every day the soil, nothing shows up, the seed is there, nothing shows up, nothing shows up. And one day you see a little bump underneath the, something, there's a little bump on the dirt, and then the next day something's trying to pick out. All the plants that are on my in my apartment, every one of them, except maybe for the aloe plant, I've planted them from seed. Because I love to watch. I could buy that go to show, buy all of them already. But first of all, they are tropical plants. They are mangoes, avocados, quenepas, all guanabana, all things that are from the tropic. But I love to be able to plant something for seed because there's something magical to watch the dirt somehow push through and the seed begin to burgeon, and you begin to see a little sprouting. And the next thing you know, it's a little stick that seems to be sticking out, and it keeps growing toward the light. And the next thing you know, there's a couple of leaves. There's something magical about this whole process. And I'm thinking of you and the seed idea that I've shared with you. And when I see it germinating and growing and expanding in you, I am in awe. I'm in awe. And again, no one can teach anyone anything. The only way you can really change somebody is by being the example, by demonstrating in you. And that's why I'm so open and I'm so vulnerable with you by sharing with you my struggles. Because I could teach you a completely different way, giving you rule, regulation, and telling you from the top end, and not share any of my personal affairs with you. But I would not empower you, nor help you emancipate to become the beings that you're growing into right now. I rather teach in that kind of way, because to share my vulnerability with you is to remind you I remember Dr. Stone taught the same way, my teacher, because he taught from his vulnerability. He talks about his struggles. When he did this, and he was a very powerful being, he did all kinds of incredible things. When he did this, I thought to myself, oh my God, if he's having this struggle and blah, 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 and I can relate to this, I have a chance. I have a chance. Any questions, any comments?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I can understand teaching from a part of vulnerability, but in my opinion, if we didn't cross paths, I'm your sister, but I'm also thinking about the other students that are listening. If we didn't cross your path, I don't think the information that you are giving us and the dynamic of how to implement certain things, that the awareness that we have today would have been there. Yes, I can understand teaching from a part of vulnerability and seeing that you go into the same struggle that we are going through. But if we didn't have the information, like the basic information, you could have been saying about your struggle from here to come back to, and we would not get it. It's because you give us a seed, and that's the reason why we're getting it. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand, because you have to be, if I'm demonstrating something to you and I don't tell you how to do it, what protocol, what you're supposed to do, and what exercise and what meditation, and from this to that and the other, if I didn't give you this, for those people who are watching me, they're coming on a tail end on Patreon or on YouTube, watch my early videos where I give a whole bunch of information on protocol, on how to do things, and what's the morphogenic listening, what's the universal breath. There's several videos I did on Kuan Yin, the heart and mind coherence. If I didn't give you all of this as background, you wouldn't be able to process any of this. So it's both things. And in fact, I've been accused by one student that I'm too, although she did acknowledge that the meditation are out of this world and shifts her in all kinds of ways, energetically, et cetera, et cetera. And she was accusing me of being too masculine and too intellectual, because I talked too much about, it was basically during the Melchizedek training, and there was a lot of books to read, and she didn't want to read them. She wanted to just sit in energy and have the energy move her. Well, the Melchizedek initiation and training is about also it's the thought, it's the Hermetic, it's coming also from the Hermetic tradition. And there's a lot of information that's already available to validate, because you're going to have experiences. I'm going to take you energetically. Lord Melchizedek, I channel him, comes in and does all of these things and energetically, but you have no way to integrate it, because you're being shifted in as a cosmic being. And if you don't have, and there are other people who've done this before and that have written books, that have written material, there's all kinds of corroborating evidence. And if you don't read these things to get information and to get confirmation, you're not going to be able to process energetically what happened to you, because you're going to find yourself somewhere. It's energetically going 500 years in the future, or going into your future body 1,000 years from now, being expanded in ways that are impossible for your consciousness to comprehend at this point. But for someone else who had gone into it and wrote down a couple of things to describe and characterize what it is, when you read it, it will click for you, and you'll be able to put it in context. This is called integration. But thank you, Marjorie, for mentioning this. Anybody else? Any questions, any comments?
I'm pretty sure, Pierre, that being an initiate in the Order of Melchizedek, we are not being called upon to sit and receive, but to be active in participating. So it doesn't add up for me that someone is looking to join or be part of or is part of the order and is not going to be an active sort of soldier or member of that order. It's not a passive thing.
No, you're right. What she wanted is let me clarify this. What she wanted was she wanted to sit in an energy and allow the energy to give her what she needed. She didn't want to read. That was her thing. She didn't want to read. She didn't want that intellectual stuff.
Okay.
Yeah? She didn't want that intellectual stuff because she had an experience with Harvard and all that, and she didn't want to have that intellectual stuff. It's too masculine. You need both things.
Oh my God.
Your entire consciousness has to be engaged.
Oh,
You're ascending in all of your bodies. You need all of it. She did acknowledge the energetic was so powerful that it shifted her, but it's too intellectual for her. I'm like, okay, knock yourself out.
Yep.
Let's put it on a pause. Let's push the pause button. And whatever you want to do, I'm fine with that. And again, it's because people don't grow like me. Not everybody is as fast as you and I, and we need to acknowledge that other people, they process things very differently. She's different. She learns differently. And therefore, I'm not shaming her, but this is the way she is. And I have to acknowledge the way she is and accept it. And I thank her for sharing it with me. And I'm like, okay, let's just stop right there. So just stop it.
No, she will.
And again, social intelligence. Social intelligence. That's the way you're going to learn about your karma as it connects to people, events, situation, social intelligence.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, there's nothing wrong with what she said. I mean, she's telling me her truth. This is what her experience is. And I completely acknowledge and accept it and love her for it. And let's pause it because you're not comfortable with this. I understand. I get it. And at that point, I don't even try to defend what I'm doing. No, there was a lot of books. There were like almost 10 books that I had asked them to take a look at. Not all the pages, but there were several sections of different books. And I'm like, okay, I acknowledge. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. Absolutely. And it's funny because when I was teaching that class, I kept saying all the time, I don't want, because Dr. Stone made me feel exactly the same way too when I was learning from him. Because Dr. Stone, what he did was even worse. He had the last 8 books that he wrote, that he and his friends wrote, 8 correspondence courses. Each one of them was between 800 to 1,000 pages. And we had to read all of them. And I remember I'm working full time. I get home by 7 o'clock. I'm getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to do work, to read, and I remember finally one day I finally said, I think I should quit my job and do this full time. I don't have the time. And he laughed and he said, okay, we're giving you a lot, but God is asking you out of everything that I'm giving you, find 3 to 4 things that you feel comfortable doing in one day. That's all that God wants from you. So I remember saying this. I said, I know I'm giving you a lot, but I'm acknowledging that and if you cannot read all of it at once, but maybe you come back to it at some little point. Any other questions or comments? All right, let's take a 5-minute break, and then on the back end, we'll do a closing meditation. Thank you. 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your heart and your mind sync with each other. It is as if all of the neuron network that exists in your heart space are now in charge of your entire consciousness. It is as if your eyes, your perception of the world, of reality, of consciousness, emanates from your chest. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you notice. Become aware of any expansions, elevations, and knowing that this is creating for you. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. Realize that you can perceive 360 degrees. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And listen. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. What resistance? Blockage or fears is inhibiting my progress. is the root cause of this fear? What am I blinded to? What am I not seeing? What is my 50%? What part of this karma am I co-creating? Show me my co-creation. Give me sight beyond sight. Give me clarity that I may know the truth. That I may acknowledge my co-creation and my participation in this unhealthy survival 3D and reactive dynamic. What is my part? Take a very deep breath from the core of the earth and the roots of Amen. And let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging this discomfort and this fear all the way to the top of your head. And now exhale completely and release it all into source. Surrender. Exhale. Let go. Take a breath from source. Inhale deeply. The release, the ease, the benevolence, and the flow from the blessed field. Inhale deeply and let this energy cascade into the top of your head, passing through your body, moving into the ground and dissipating into the core of the earth. Take another breath from the core of the earth. Let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging any residual effects and affects of this resistance. Let it all go outside your body. And let it all be released completely into source. Surrender and let go. Let the perfect solution set in an infinite field of solution set and potentiality drop into the top of your head. And as you inhale this ease and this flow, let it pass through your entire body, healing and repairing every cell, every energy system, every frequency, every vibration, every aspect of your life as this decree of instantaneous repair and healing grounds into the very core of the earth. Take another breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging any residual energy system from the sphere, and let it all be taken outside of your head. And now exhale completely, unburden yourself, surrender, let go. It is not your responsibility to fix, repair, or do anything. Let go. Allow an infinite field of miraculous and instantaneous blessings to move toward you. Take a very deep breath and let the cascade of this benevolence drop into your entire being and let it ground into the core of the earth. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre. I'll have to sit with that for a little while.
Beautiful. Any comments, any questions, any last minute thoughts that you may have? I want to again thank all my supporters on Patreon and all of you watching me on YouTube. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this information so that more people can enjoy the ease that you're benefiting from this. Thank you all for listening and for joining us. And I will talk to you next week. Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.